Hello, artists. How are you doing? My name is Mickey, and I am an art teacher at Kimberly High School. So it's right near where we are. And I am here today to do some art with you because I'm sure that some of you guys are maybe getting a little bored staying home so much and not getting out like we usually do. Hopefully you have some markers and crayons and pencils at your houses. And I thought that for this first drawing that we're going to do together, we could do some nice garden flowers for Mother's Day. I thought that would be a nice drawing that maybe we can give to our moms because moms rock. I'm a mom. I have 3 sons, and I just found out that I'm going to be a grandma. And my son's even going to have twins, so pretty exciting. So hopefully you're up for doing some art, and I'm going to ask you to follow along with me. I'm going to show you what to do step by step. I started a wildflower drawing. It's not done, but this is just kind of an idea of what we're going to be doing. And I'm going to do my best to teach you some art skills along the way to help you become even better artists than I know you already are. So I'm going to swing my camera over here. And here I have a piece of paper, and really any paper you have is going to be just fine because I realize we don't all have a ton of art supplies at our houses, right? And the stores are closed and everything, so it's hard to get things. Now, if you are a person who feels like you make a lot of mistakes, you could always use a pencil, right? And otherwise, you could go for it with a marker. I'm going to draw my first flower with a marker just so that you can see it better on the camera. But if you want, you could draw with a pencil and then erase any mistakes you make along the way. So I am going to have us start with a kind of a flower called a tulip. And the way I like to draw tulips is first, I draw a little letter U like that. Then I go up the center of the letter U and swerve out to the side and kind of scoop it like that to be 1/2 of the tulip. Then I'm going to come over here on the other side and do the same. So that way I have the 2 sides of my tulip. Now, one thing I want to tell you about this video is that if I go too fast for you, all you have to do is hit pause, keep drawing, and catch up to me, and then you can hit go again and continue on. So next on this one, I'm going to put another petal like that, and another one here, and then I might just put a pointy one in the middle. So that's kind of a very busy one. I'm going to do an easier one over here. This one is only going to have 3 petals. You choose which style you prefer because you're the artist and you get to decide. So this one, I'm going to do my letter U again, or my smile. Looks like a smile, right? And I'm going to go up the middle again and do the exact same thing I did on the other flower. But now this one, I'm not going to do so many in there. This one, I'm going to make it a little bit easier on us. And I'm going to put 1 in the middle like that. How's it going? Is it going okay? Good. I hope so. And remember, if you make mistakes, you can always try again. And as I mentioned, if you decide that you would like to draw in pencil, the good news is you could always use a handy dandy eraser to get rid of your boo-boos, right? And then trace over it with a marker if you want, or a crayon, whatever you have. Now, tulips have pretty thick stems. So I am going to put my stem on here right away, and I'm going to make it a little thicker on the top and make it come down like that. And I'm putting a little bit of a slant into my stem. That's because flowers are nature, and nature is never perfect, right? In art, we actually have a really fancy word for that. It's called organic. So today, if your parents say, hey, what you doing? You could say, I'm producing some organic art. It'll make you sound really smart. So here is another stem, and this one, I think I'll put a little bit of a curve on that, like that. So we have 2 tulips. Now with these flowers, with this drawing, you get to decide what style of flowers you like. And you might decide you like certain styles better than others. And then you could just make more. Like, let's say you're really getting into making these tulips. Well, then you could just make a bunch of tulips if you want, right? Nothing wrong with that. Now I'm going to show you a different style of flower. What I'm going to do this time is over here, I'm going to kind of make a wobbly, kind of, I guess, football shape. It almost looks like a raisin, doesn't it? I made kind of a wobbly raisin shape. Now off of this, I am going to do kind of wider petals like this. And I'm probably just going to fit 4 of these guys onto that raisin. Now, I could just leave it like that because it already looks like a flower, right? But I think I'm going to get a little fancier than that, and I'm going to add a second layer of petals in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of add another one like that, and maybe I'll put kind of in between those 2. Maybe I'll tuck one back over here, and I'll just pretend that there's a petal behind those guys. It just helps it look a little fancier than if I just left the 4 petals. Now for this one, I'm not going to worry about a stem yet. And the reason for that is I'm going to add some smaller flowers in front of it. And these I'm going to make, I don't know, kind of almost looking like daisies. I'm going to draw a circle. And some of you might already know this style. It's where we add kind of pointy petals. Have you ever done that before? I know this with my students, this is a style that seems pretty popular if they're just doodling on their notebooks or things like that. I'm going to do a bunch of these because I want my garden to seem a little bit crowded. Now I am going to try to draw a little more quickly here. And as I mentioned, please just hit pause and go ahead and add more of these little flowers. And I'm not really able to speed it up or anything fancy like that. I'm just doing this in my dining room for fun because I felt like drawing with you guys today. But if you need to slow down, you just hit pause and catch up to me, especially if you want it to look just like mine. All right, so I could have a whole bunch of those. I could throw some more in different places. I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to throw another one of these flowers in here. But here's the thing. I'm going to make it look like these 2 go in front of that one. We call that overlapping. And what that does is that makes our nature scene look more real, because in real life, things overlap. So I'm going to draw another raisin in there, and I'm going to draw another petal and another one. Now, I don't want to run over this flower, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go up to it, and I'm going to stop, and I'm going to go behind it. Tricky, huh? That's kind of hard to do, but it really makes our nature scene look better. I'm also going to add some of those petals behind, and notice that I didn't run over my stem. I stopped so that I would have some overlapping happening. Same with this one. I'm having it go behind that one And there's another one. And I'll just pretend this one goes behind here. The good news about nature is we really can't make terrible mistakes. That's because nature's never perfect. No two flowers are exactly alike, and so they don't need to be in your drawing either. We'll come back here. So next, I want to think about adding some leaves. I'm going to back this up a little more so that you can see more of my paper. There we go. So over on this side, I'm going to add a big leaf like tulips usually have. Tulips have these real wide leaves and they're kind of pointy. So I'm putting a nice big leaf in there. I could put some more of these little flowers over here. They're really good at filling up space. Another one there. You can just put tons of these all over the place. It'll make your garden look very exciting, right? Now, I'm also going to put, I'm going to back this up even more. I'm going to put another one of those big tulip leaves on the side of this tulip, and I'm going to do overlapping again. That's such a good art skill to have. So I'm going to have my leaf go behind this flower so that it looks realistic. So I'm going to start up here and put the point, and it's coming down and getting kind of fat as it's coming down toward my tulip stem. I'm not going to go across my flower, but I have an imaginary line coming down, and I'm just going to let this go behind like that so it looks like there is overlapping happening. And if I want, I could even get a little wider here. I got pretty skinny there. But the good news is I just made a mistake. Did you see that? But guess what? When I start coloring it and stuff, nobody will know. So don't tell them, okay? It'll be our secret. Now for these, I want to add some skinnier stems. So I think I'll have kind of a skinnier stem going behind my flowers again. There's that overlapping. Because a lot of us, when we draw flowers, we draw them all in a line, but we're getting really good at this overlapping thing, right? And that's going to make our nature scene look so much more real. Here's another stem coming from this one. And I could keep going and adding as many flowers as I want. Now, I don't want my video to get too long because I want you to be able to stop the video and catch up with me and get this much done. And then I want you to continue working on it and make it look really cool. So in my imagination, what I would maybe do is maybe I would pretend that there's another one of these flowers kind of going off the edge. And by the way, you don't have to do this part. You get to pick and choose how many flowers. So I could have some there over on this side. Maybe I could have another one of those going behind. I could make this a very crowded garden, couldn't I? Or not. You are the artist and you get to decide. There, and that's kind of going behind there too. And then maybe I'd pretend that there's also a stem going back there. And I could add some small leaves on some of these too, couldn't I? Now, the other thing that gardens sometimes have in them is grass, right? If these are wildflowers, maybe they have grass growing around them. So what I could do, if I want, is I could add blades of grass. And I could do that with color, or I could outline it with my black. And I am going to just put a little bit of grass that is with my marker. So I'm just going to kind of throw, maybe there's some kind of coming behind here. I'm making them really skinny. Maybe some grasses here. Maybe some grass over on the edge. Hopefully you're still on my camera here. But you get the idea. Over here I could have some grass coming out, and all of my grass I have hiding behind this so that at least my nature scene looks very busy. Maybe I'll even put one of these little flowers right in front of this leaf. Now, what I'm thinking about as I'm doing all this is trying to make it be a good composition. Now, composition is a very fancy art word that means the way that we arrange a piece of artwork. So when you draw a picture, the way that you put the objects on your paper is a lot of what makes it look awesome and looks really cool. Sometimes we might just want to draw one flower right in the middle of our paper, right? I know I always did, but as you become an older artist, what you could do is make it more realistic and have overlapping and also have it a little bit lopsided. A little bit, in art, we have a special word for that, and that is called informal composition. How's that for a fancy word? Told you were going to learn some stuff. So, the next thing I want us to do, once you have all of your outlines of your flowers drawn in and you feel pretty proud of it, we're going to start adding color. So, I am going to talk about both markers and colored pencils. Now, I did already start doing a little shading on another one that I did as my practice run before I went ahead to shoot this video. And one thing that I want you to know about markers is that you can layer the markers. I'm going to try to get this camera even closer if I can. So this flower has 4 colors of markers in it, believe it or not. I started out with a pink color, and then I layered some orange and some peach and some red in it to try to make it look cooler. I'm going to do something right here on this flower to show you what I mean. Now, right now, I'm using just good old Crayola markers. And I will just show you which ones I'm using. So some of you might have these at your house. They're awesome. They work so well. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to use a lighter blue color marker. And I'm just going to color in this petal with my light blue. Then what I'm going to do with that light blue, I'm going to keep that marker handy, and I am going to layer in toward the bottom with a little bit darker blue. And at first it might look kind of messy, right? But here's the cool thing. I'm going to get my light marker out again, and I'm going to rub the light marker right over the dark marker. And because the ink is still kind of wet, they're kind of blending together. It's kind of cool. It's like watercolor paint. You could always paint your flowers too, by the way, if you have any watercolor paints handy. I think that'd be beautiful. Now I'm taking an even darker marker on the bottom, and I'm going back to my lightest one again, and I'm rubbing it over the darker markers again. Now I would go around this flower and I would do this on every petal, and I tend to put the darker color toward the center because that way it looks as if it's going inward, right? Kind of gives it that look. So I would just keep doing first the lightest, then I would come back with a little bit darker color like this, and it's all coming out from the center of my flower. And then I would go back with my light marker and I would rub over it and blend it in. So this hopefully is kind of a new skill that you can learn with your regular markers that you have at your house. These are just good old Crayola markers, and it works with any brand. Actually, this one isn't. This one is, I think it's Rose Art or something. It's a different brand. So you can do this with any markers, and it starts to make your flowers look really awesome. On this one, I think I'm going to give it a yellow middle. And then if I want to get super fancy, I could even come in with an orange, and I could do like little dots on my center, couldn't I? That might look pretty nice. Now, you would keep doing this and you decide, what colors you want your flowers to be, and start with that light color and blend. Now, that's markers. And of course, you can always just color them in regular too. Nothing wrong with that. Now, what if I don't have markers, but I do have colored pencils at my house instead? Well, I'm going to tell you about that because colored pencils are really cool. Colored pencils are actually made out of wax, just like crayons. And did you know that crayons and colored pencils can blend together? It's true. It's really cool. So I'm going to use just colored pencils, but please know that if you want, you could color with crayons and then blend colored pencils into it. So I'm going to focus on this flower right here and demonstrate what you can do with colored pencils. It's kind of like what I did with the markers. What I'm going to do is color first with my lightest color. And just, colored pencils take a little bit longer to cover the area, but that's okay. Because what I'm doing right now is I'm putting a layer of wax onto my paper there. Then I can come back in, and I think I'm going to go with a darker color, which is my orange, because I'm going to make it kind of look like that one, except I'm using colored pencils now instead of the markers. But I'm going to make it look really awesome. And this is a new skill that some of you might not know about, because I think that most of us, like when we're at school and stuff, we just color things solid with a colored pencil. Like if I was going to color this, and it would just be kind of scratchy looking like that, right? But if we keep adding layers and layers of wax with our colored pencils like this, because I'm doing a lot of layers, aren't I? I just keep going on top of them, and I'm getting darker and darker, but I'm not doing the whole petal because I want it to be kind of like this, where it goes from dark to light. A lot of times kids call that an ombre or a gradient. And the reason I'm doing that is just, to make it look more exciting, to make it look more professional. Now I'm using red, and I'm going to really crank on it. I'm pushing hard with my hand, and I'm just coloring that red over those other colors that are already in it, which is yellow, orange, and kind of a magenta color. I layered all that in there. And then, guess what? Just like before, I'm bringing the lightest color back for the final blending, because this works very well for blending. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to color back over it with yellow, and I'm going to kind of push hard, and it's going to smooth that wax out and make it look really pretty. I love colored pencils. I just think they look so good if we layer them and get them very smooth. I'm going to take my phone out of my little holder here, and I'm going to bring it close. Isn't that pretty? And really, from far away, it looks great. Same with the marker. See, it looks kind of messy close up, but it starts to look very pretty and blended once you back up a little bit from your art. So those are just some helpful hints that I wanted to tell you about. Another thing, by the way, with the colored pencil is you can use a paper towel to blend it also. So I can kind of rub in little circles like this, and that makes it even smoother looking. See, because it's wax and it rubs right off like that. So I didn't know if you knew that. So artists, here's the deal. I would like it if you would draw this grouping of wildflowers, and you get to do whatever style of flowers you like the best. You get to decide if you're going to use colored pencils or if you're going to use markers or crayons or whatever you have at your house. And I'm going to ask if maybe there's a place where you can send pictures of your finished art. I think that'd be so awesome, and it would make me really happy to see how they turned out. So I will find out if that's something we can do, and I'm sure they'll announce it on the Fox Crossing site. And I'm just so excited that I got to come and make art with you today. I really wish I could meet you all, and I really wish that you would enjoy this and have fun. And I will see you again the next time I come to make art with you. And to all of your moms out there, happy Mother's Day. Being a mom is a tough job, and it's very important. So, you know what? Make this for your mom. Wouldn't that be a cool Mother's Day card? Do it. Do it. All right. So have a fun time making art, and I hope that I will get to see pictures of your creations soon. Bye. Take care.